We're at 48 Crowell Avenue in Fort Thomas, doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. We're looking for any structural issues, root intrusion, anything that may be of concern to the potential buyer. In this case, we're going to be going through an outside clean out. If you're facing the house, it's to the right as the driveway comes down. There is an outside PVC clean out, just about 3 feet off the house in the grass. And what we're going to try to do is go both directions, which would be trying to go back upstream or back into the house to try to look at the line underneath the basement floor, get a look at that, and then we will turn and then try to go out towards the street. It does have a little bit of a sweep at the bottom, meaning a little piece on there that tries to force the camera to go out towards the street, but we are going to try to get it to go against flow and back into the house, so we can inspect that line as much as possible. So I will stop and make note of anything I feel is necessary. Here's the front of the house. Here's the clean out. There is the door. Okay, we should be going back towards the house. I have to double check. Yes, we are going back towards the house. So we are going back into the house. We're against flow. Looks like cast iron. So it's going to be ugly. Cast iron usually is. It tends to have a lot of rust, and so it usually doesn't look real pretty. And so what we may end up having to do, obviously now we just went dark because there's something got on the front of the camera. So what I'll probably do is push about as far as I can. We'll try to run some water here and make sure we can rinse off the camera to be able to see, because we may not be able to go real far. All the plumbing the microphone shut off somehow. I'm not sure when, but I know it was only a few seconds ago, but looks like, as you can see, you can't see anything because got some goo on the front of the camera from the line, so we're going to have to run some water. But I was explaining that both the bathrooms are on this side of the house also just inside the house where the clean out is, on that side, and the bathrooms are right above each other. So we shouldn't have to go too far into the house, which I may already be at that point, maybe at the toilet in the basement bathroom. And so we're going to go run some water and try to rinse off the front of the camera here so we can see a little better. I'm going to pause the video. So I'm running some water, but I could be in front of it. There we go. Trying to rinse the camera off here, but it doesn't seem to be working real well. Kind of see flashes. And sometimes this happens with the cast iron because it's, when it rusts, it turns into like almost like a black soot. So, what I may have to do is pull out all the way and then wipe the camera off with my gloves. Yeah, there's just so much stuff on the front of the camera. See if we can go in. Yeah, you can see all that black stuff. See, once you hit it, it gets caught on the front of the camera. That looks like that is the turn inside the bathroom. Yeah. So we are getting the majority of it. It's just right when we get to this turn, the camera is pushing up against the side of the wall as it wants to turn and getting a bunch of stuff on the front of the camera. So I don't think we're really going to be able to see much past that point. And that's right where the water's coming in, so yeah. So I'm not going to be able to see that last couple feet of pipe where it turns, and I believe this is where it's going into the tub or the bath or the toilet. So actually what I'm going to do to verify that is I'm going to pause the video here, and I'm going to locate the exact spot where the camera is so I know exactly where we are, so I can get a better idea. Okay, so I was able to locate exactly where we are. And there's actually one more line that comes on the back side, which is presumably the kitchen. And so it's got a line that just seems to be helping. I've made it a lot further already. I'm running some water from that. There's like a stationary tub in a back utility room, and so I've been able to make it a little bit further, but I'm gonna have to try to get this to rinse off here because the water's coming right at me. But this is only about a 2-inch line here, and so because of that I'm not able to get through it all the way with my camera. So the line size is reduced, but I will see if we can get this rinsed off real quick with the water coming towards us. And then I'm going to go turn the water off. Yeah, right here is where it's kind of choking down here. Which, this is normal for cast iron. When it rusts, you can have somebody come through and, you know, clean it and try to rinse it. Or try to scrape the walls off and stuff like that in that cast iron. But that happens because if it starts at a 2-inch, it rusts and the diameter of the pipe, you know, decreases to the point where my camera is probably 1.5 inches in diameter, and so it just won't allow that camera to go down through that pipe. As you can see, it doesn't look like a blockage. It just looks like there's a turn, and because of that turn, my camera will not, you know, because of the electronics within the camera, it won't allow it to make that turn right there. So I'm going to go locate this again and verify where we are, but I'm heading towards a rear stack in the utility room. Okay, so we're about halfway to that rear stack. It's in the bedroom just inside the walkout of the basement. It's about halfway into that bedroom there. So we've inspected about half the interior line, but as I said a minute ago, I'm not going to be able to inspect the rest of the interior just because of the reduction in the line size. So, but it looks like everything seems to be flowing fine. I mean, that's where the kitchen comes down and goes through this line, so that's another contributing factor, is that there's, you know, the kitchen lines are usually the nastiest because of all the food and grease and stuff that comes down it, even if you don't you know, deliberately put that stuff down there. It happens. I mean, the line, it's ugly, but that's normal for cast iron. And so we ran enough water that allowed us to, you know, at least see that it is flowing freely. And so the half that I saw does not look bad at all. It's just a normal sink line. You can see the diameter of the pipe is increasing a little bit here as we get out by the bathroom and we get closer to the outside clean out. It's a little rough to see sometimes. I'm used to looking at it, so if it looks a little foggy, I apologize. It's just the way that this stuff gets on the front of that lens and does not want to clear up. But the inside line does look pretty good, all the cast iron. So now what we're doing is we're actually back in that clean out, in that vertical clean out outside. And I am now going downstream towards the main. I think I'm going to end up seeing if we can rinse this off a little bit. So it does look like we're going to be going into a belly here. So I'm going to push this out. I may end up having to try to put a standoff on this camera so we can lift it up and hopefully we can see out or above the water and kind of get an idea of how bad that belly is. I heard some bubbling, which could indicate that that line is, you know, dropped down. Could indicate that it's a pretty hefty belly, which could be a problem. It looks like the line has been replaced though, because it is PVC seemingly all the way out. And so to have that belly is a little odd. Looks like the line went straight into the manhole because we are at the main, and you can see it kind of looking like it's open around the outside of the pipe. So I believe this line comes directly into the manhole that's at the top of the driveway. But I'm going to pull back here. I'm going to take a little bit better look, and because the sections that I can see look good structurally, but then I get here to 50 feet and I'm underwater. And I'm underwater for a good deal. That's, almost, is it 7 or 8 feet there before I come back out. Now hopefully that standoff will get me above that water and I'll be able to see a little better, but it's about 50 to 43 feet, or 43 to 50 in the opposite direction is a belly. And then here we are at 35. So 35, let's see here, so about 22 to 35 is also under a belly. Now these footages are not exact because it only goes by the rotation of the drum on the camera. I will locate it exactly with a locator and mark it with some paint at the beginning and the end of these bellies. Once I get a standoff on here, we can get a better look at it. So I pulled all the way out. I'm going to clean the camera off here, pause it so I can put this standoff, and then we'll make a second pass. Okay, I've got the standoff put on the camera, and we're going to go back down through it. So turn downstream again, going out towards the main. And you should be pretty high up to be able to stay out of this. Looks like it's at least half the pipe here. Again, it's reading at about 23 feet, but we're not at 23 feet. I will mark this exactly. I don't know what I just pushed down the line, but looks like I just took something down the line with me. And maybe that was causing that backup. You can see it's a pretty big chunk of something. So we're going to go ahead and, because I believe it was about here to about 50 feet. And now this is raising this to about the middle of the pipe. And so that's a pretty good belly. So if we can get this on down the line, this would help. Yeah, we definitely have a couple sections here that so I'm going to go from about 50 feet where I said before. I'm going to mark this. I'm going to locate it and mark it. This is the end of the belly, and then we'll mark it at the beginning of the belly so we can show where it dropped. And then I'll mark the other one. Sometimes these can be fine and the water will overtake it, and push this stuff down the line. But as you can see, there was a piece of debris that I pushed out with my camera that was sitting in that belly, and that's usually the biggest issue. Is if it's a big enough belly, it will push the solids or any large debris will sit at the bottom of that belly and has a hard time. The water has a hard time pushing it out since it's all gravity fed. So I'm going to recommend that you have a licensed plumber take a look at this. But first things first, I'm going to mark the end of the line or the end of the belly and the start of the belly in both spots. Okay, so that is about 9 feet deep in the center of the driveway. I put a green dot there, didn't want to mark it up too much. And I will put a flag off to the side. And then we'll see where this comes out of this belly. This one isn't as severe. I wouldn't be really that worried about this one. It doesn't look like it's very deep. The fact that I can see above the majority of it. The first one is the one I'm most concerned about. And we're going to look at that because I was able to push some debris out of this. It was a pretty large piece, and I thought maybe sometimes debris can do that and it'll sit in the line. It'll cause a bit of a backup of the water, but eventually the water pressure will push it out. But this, I pushed that out of the way and we're still in a belly. So I'm going to mark this as the end of the belly for the first one, or at least the one that is most upstream or closest to the clean out. The other one, like I said, isn't real concerning, but this one is the one that I think is actually holding some debris or holding some material at the bottom of it. So again, I'm going to pause here, get another locate. Okay, that's marked. It's about 6 foot deep to the invert, and it's just inside the grass. And then again, this has the standoff on it, so this is even higher. I don't know if you can hear that on the video, but that bubble means that it's basically trapping air, which means that belly is probably close to the same, all the way to the top of that pipe, which means it's at least like a 4-inch belly, which means it's trapping air. You can hear that. So yeah, I'm going to mark this right around in here for the beginning of the belly. Again, this is about a 12 foot span of pipe here that has presumably sunk. It's obviously been replaced because it's PVC. The original line would have either been cast iron all the way out, or based on the age of the house, I would guess it was probably clay at one time. But it was replaced all the way out to the main. But for some reason the pipe sank. Could be the hillside moving, could be a bedding issue when they put it in. But anyway, I'm going to mark this, and then we'll finish up the inspection. Okay, so that's it's only about 3 feet off the clean out here for the beginning of that belly, and there is a slight 45 or a 22 and a half. It's hard to tell because I couldn't see. Turning it towards as it goes up towards the street, but at least this is in the grass. The depth here, because of the hill, it's increasing from about 4 feet deep near the clean out. So on the upstream part of that belly to about 6 feet to the invert on the downstream side of the belly by the closer to the driveway. So I mean, structurally, as far as the pipe looks, I mean, it's obviously still in one piece. I didn't see any breaks or anything because of the situation with it being bellied and the amount of the level of that belly. I was obviously unable to see the pipe, and because of that belly, I would gonna refer this to a licensed plumber to make a decision on whether or not this needs to be dug up and replaced, if it can be, if it can be fixed, or if they think that this will last. But that was a pretty large belly there that I'm fairly concerned about. So that will end the inspection at 48 Crowell Avenue in Fort Thomas, Kentucky.